In this experiment for the torsion test of circular bars, the objective is to obtain the stress-strain diagram and the torque angle of twist diagram for circular cross-section bars. And we are also going to determine the material characteristics such as the shear modulus G and the torsional stiffness K. The apparatus we're going to be using is the MT3005. We're also going to be testing the materials of aluminum, steel, and brass. To load the specimen, you're going to come over to the end of the machine and load through the end and slide through and across. Prior to this, you want to make sure that your span length is set to 500 millimeters or 50 centimeters. Then, when you come over to the opposite side, you're going to feed the specimen through, and then you're going to take a hex tool and make sure to tighten the bolts on this end away from the gauge first. Once you come over to the end with the gauge, you're going to want to make sure to have your analog gauge over the lever arm, and then you're going to raise up on the lever arm and then tighten the screws in. This is your beginning position without any weight on the bars. From here, using an analog gauge, you will set it to 0 by turning the dial. Next, you begin to add weight, and this is where you use the 50-gram piece. You set it on, and you'll note the deflection, and you will subtract from 100 to get your deflection. Notice on your gauge, each one is 0.01 millimeters. So whenever you go around one full rotation, you have deflected 1 millimeter. From here, you will begin to add your weights. Once you have the 50-gram apparatus ready to go, you're going to load 100, 200, and 500 grams and taking note of the deflection at each spot. So from here, you will take your piece, you will load 100 grams, take your deflection, you will do likewise with your 200, and then lastly, you will go to your 500-gram piece. And make sure to take note of how many rotations it does around, especially when you come to the last measurement. You're going to repeat this process for a span length of 400 millimeters and 300 millimeters, changing the weight each time. One thing I'll recommend through this process is once you complete the weight at one span for one material, change the material and run all three materials at the same span before moving everything in closer. So you will do your aluminum at 600, your brass at 600, your steel at 600, and then move into 500 millimeters, and then do aluminum, brass, steel, then move in closer for your final experiment.